damn then, but that's all in the past tense. So I can't stop shit till I'm top 10, and I'm not 10. I'm somewhere level the process.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Ernesto. Welcome to the We Make Shit Happen podcast. I'm right here with Anthony, Max, and Dwayne. Anthony is the owner and operator of Revive Auto Solutions. It's a pleasure to have you here, Anthony. Thank you so much for coming by, and we're excited to have you here, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here as well.
Yeah. It's so this is our second podcast. We're starting out our second, and again, we're just extremely excited to bring you guys different content, different type of entrepreneurs that are in different fields. So again, we're extremely excited for Anthony to share pretty much his experience with his business, how everything has been going, his pretty much ups and downs and everything. So I guess to get started, Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you were born and raised?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Rowland Heights, California. I lived there 18 years before I went into the military. I went in 4 days after I graduated high school, and I served a total of 3 years before I got out. When I got out, I became a technician for Mercedes-Benz. And then a war in Iraq popped off, and I wanted to go back in and serve my country. I went back in for another 9 years, and that's what led me to being stationed here in Fort Bliss. And I loved it here, and my wife loved it here, and now we're here.
Nice. So that's the main reason why you came to El Paso, because you were in the military and you got stationed here in Fort Bliss.
Yeah, I got stationed here back in 2011, and I was only here, 2010, and I only was here stationed there for about a year and a half before I got out.
Oh, okay. And how was that transition for you, like moving from Cali to Texas, El Paso? Was it like a big difference for you?
It's dry here, man.
Yeah, the weather is definitely not the best.
No, because I was stationed in Arizona before, so I was used to the desert.
Oh, okay.
Arizona's kind of a nicer desert, but it was not a big culture shock or anything like that. You know, like I said, I love it here, and nice. I'll continue to live here until we can, until we're not happy here.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, we also love El Paso. But yeah, that's great. So you said right after high school, right away, you went into the military. How was that for you? Like, how was that process like? Did you already knew, like, when you were in high school, that's what you wanted to do?
No, I didn't want to get a job, and I didn't want to go to college. So I knew I had to do something. So the military was the next best thing. You know, I back then it was be all you can be in the Army, and I used to watch all those commercials where they're rolling in the mud and climbing trees and wearing the camo, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then I got there and realized that was not what it was all about. And I went in as a mechanic, so I was getting dirty all the time and working on trucks that were dirty, and you're always in the field and training. My first duty station was Korea, so we were in the field 30 days at a time, come back for a couple weeks, go back to the field for 30 days. So as an 18-year-old kid, it was really hard work, and at the time I didn't like it. I didn't like being a mechanic for the Army.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So you were around cars for a long time already. Since you got out of high school, you've been around.
Yeah, well, I was 15 when I had my first car. It was a 65 VW Bug with nice. The retractable sunroof.
You were living the life in Cali, man.
We bought my dad bought it for $500. I actually sold my GT. I had a GT, GT Mach 1. I don't know if you guys are familiar with old bicycles, but it was a pretty nice bike. And my dad fits it all up for me, and I got tired of riding it, and I wanted to drive, and he sold it, and we bought that VW Bug, and I used to drive it while they were at work, and them not knowing, around town. And that was my first car, and I've had 3 or 4 since then, different years. But yeah, that was my first car. We actually painted another one in my grandma's front yard. We painted it, we primered it. We didn't paint it, but my uncle primered it in my grandma's front yard. Man, we got overspray on the whole neighborhood.
the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
Trees were brown instead of green.
Yeah, but I've always been, that was my first car, and like I said, I had 3 or 4 after that, and I was always working on them, modifying them, doing something to them.
Nice. So I guess based on what you're saying, so from a young age you were involved in that field, right? Like you kind of like got a I guess, love for that, or
Yeah,
how
and
did
then
that all-
that's why I went as a mechanic into the military. And then when I got out of the military, I went to a automotive trade school, you know, because I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then that's how I got the job with Mercedes-Benz. You know, I became a mobile technician for them. Did that for 3.5 years, almost 4, before I went back into the military.
Nice.
How was that, man? How was the Mercedes work?
You know, that was cool. That was really fun, man. I got to see Phil Jackson from the Lakers. He was the coach for the Lakers at the time. Snoop Dogg, I delivered his car to his house with another technician. Ice Cube, I got to drive his SL 500 when it first came out. He dropped it off for service, and they parked it in the front. And I found out it was his car, and I wanted to be like, hey, I drove Ice Cube's car. So I drove it around the lot a couple of times, and all the technicians were like shaking their head at me like, fucking idiot.
You weren't scared, man? A little scratch. And
He's probably like, why does it have 3 miles on it? That's real.
Yeah, so that was real fun, man. I got to go on movie lots. I was a mobile technician, so I got to go in Beverly Hills, all those cool places, you know, you see on TV. I got to go there and experience that and do that for, like I said, 3.5 years. I did that.
Nice.
That was real fun.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after that happened, you said you went back into the military?
Yeah, the war in Iraq popped off, and when I was in, 9/11 happened.
Okay.
And we actually got orders to go to Qatar. And I was one of the ones that was going to go, and my enlistment was going to get extended because I was going to go to Qatar. But our order got canceled. I ended up getting out, and I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get to go and, you know, like really serve my country, you know, and defend it, you know, what I really wanted to do. So, yeah, I went back in. I went back in as a mechanic, and then when time came to re-enlist, I re-enlisted, but in between that time, I actually got deployed. I did a 15-month deployment to Iraq.
Okay.
When I got back is when I reclassified to 11 Bravo, which is an infantryman, you know, the guys you see doing the fighting and all that. And
so you actually changed your...
I changed my job,
your
yeah.
job.
Yeah, and I actually had to go back to basic training for that, man.
Oh, really?
That was crazy.
Yeah, was it like a crazy experience after being in there so many years?
Well, it wasn't hard because I already did it. Nothing about it was hard physically or mentally. It's just the fact that I had to be there with new recruits, and I couldn't have my cell phone. They treated me like they treated them, you know, even though I had all these years of experience and I had already done it, you know, I didn't get the respect that, you know, that I should have got. So that was kind of weird to me.
Yeah, mess with your mind a little bit.
It did, yeah.
I can see how it can happen. So right after that, you said you went on a 15-month deployment, and then once you come back, that's when you came to El Paso, or how was that?
Yeah,
transition?
so after I reclassified and changed my job is when I got stationed to El Paso, because the station I was at, they didn't have any infantrymen there, so I had to go to a unit where they had my job, and the nearest one was Fort Bliss. Nice. And I got my orders, came here, and I was in the 1st Armored Brigade for about 1.5 years, and they were getting ready to go to Afghanistan, and I wanted to extend my enlistment to go with them, but they wouldn't allow it. They wanted another enlistment, 3 years or nothing. So I ended up getting out and had a bunch of different jobs since then, man.
Yeah.
Good jobs, though. They're really, really good jobs.
And I was going to ask you, so how is the experience for somebody getting out of the military looking for a job? Because I know there's a bunch of different things you can do within the military, right? But a lot of people get out and it's like they can't do the same thing they were doing in there. So how was that experience for you?
So it was probably different for me because I had the background of being a mechanic, you know, so I had options. I had, you know, I could go work as a mechanic or technician or something technical, you know. I did apply for the Border Patrol and Customs. Unfortunately, they said I tried beating the polygraph, which is crazy because I had a secret clearance from the military, and they do the background check. So I had never been in trouble in my life, never been, you know, arrested or anything like that where it went on my record or anything like that. So it was kind of weird that they told me I was hiding something, and because of that, I tried beating the polygraph. It was really weird, man. So there's that option for military, man. The Border Patrol, they have a program now in Customs where they kind of like expedite the process of getting selected and getting the job. But for me, I mean, I've always was constantly looking for work, and whatever I found that I thought I would like, I went ahead and applied for it. And I actually, before I got out, I had a job before I even got out of the Army.
Oh, really?
I was interviewing with people before I got out of the Army, you know. So I had a job as a utility line locator, locating a pipeline, gas lines, stuff like that underground. So right when I got out, I already had a job. I was already in where's that university?
Salt Ross, you mean?
No, the Raiders. Where's that?
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. There you go. Yeah. They sent me out to, was that Lubbock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They sent me out to Lubbock for a month to train, and yeah, I started working right away. And then I found a job with the Union Pacific.
Oh,
really great paying job, but you have no life there, man.
Full benefits and everything.
Awesome pay, but you're paying for it with your life because you have no schedule. You know, if you're low in seniority, then you're gonna work the graveyard shift or whenever they want you to work.
And they're kind of like everywhere, right? They're not really like in El Paso, because I've seen some, but I haven't really.
So yeah, they have 3 yards in El Paso, but if you want to work on the road, you're gonna be gone a lot. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure. I mean, with you being gone so much, you were. I mean, I don't want to say used to it, but you kind of knew what that was like, you know. And I'm sure you said, yeah, I don't want to.
That was the thing. They told me how it would be, you know, when I first interviewed for it. I'm like, oh, I can handle that. I've been deployed. I've been in the field, you know. I could handle it, but it's totally different when you're doing it as a civilian.
Yeah.
You know, because you kind of wanted to get away from that, you know, and you really, like, you had no life, man. You're on call, you know, you work when they want you to work. You can't really plan anything. So I thought I could handle that being military and then being that I've been deployed before, you know, that I could handle that. But that's kind of why I got away from it. I was tired of being away.
Yeah.
So
makes total sense, man. I mean, would you be able to do it?
I would not be able to do that. I can't be gone. We just recently went on vacation, and I was already getting homesick the first day. First day, man. I can't be far away from El Paso.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few members that do that, the Union Pacific here,
Yeah.
and they always come in all stressed. They're like, oh, they call me at 2 in the morning. I
Yeah.
have to go in. I can't even get a full workout in, so I wouldn't be able to do it either.
Yeah, so when they call you have like a 2-hour window to get your ass to work, or you're gonna get in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn. No, well, that's tough. Well, so then after that, you said you were working on the pipeline, right? And then
Yeah.
you had that job lined up before getting out, and then how long were you there?
Actually 1 year. I was there 1 year, and the manager tried his hardest to keep me there. He was even gonna match the pay that they were gonna pay me. But that job was really stressful, man. That job, if you're 18 inches off and a backhoe cuts into a gas line, and it was really stressful, and the training wasn't where it needed to be to do that type of job. You know, it was a lot of like basic training, but not really hands-on on the job training where you needed to, the exact
where
location.
You could mess up, you know.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, you're done with training, we're throwing you in there, and figure it out on your own type deal. Yeah. So that job was really stressful for me.
Yeah, that sounds really stressful. So right after that, you said you were there for a year, and then what happened after that?
Then that's where I got the job for Union Pacific. I was there 14 months. That job was fun, man.
Yeah. You
had no life, but when you're actually working, it was fun riding trains and, going on the road and, but like I said, the hours weren't, it's not the type of life I wanted to live.
And do you actually drive more than you actually work when you're in those type of jobs, or is it actually like you get there and you're there for like a whole week? And
no, so there's two different jobs. You can be working in the yard, building a train to go out on the road, or you can be on the road taking the train from one location to the other.
Oh, okay.
And you can only work 12 hours by the regulations. You can only work 12. So a lot of the times when you're on the road, you're what they call dying on the road. You hit your 12 hours and you have to stop the train. You have to pull it over into a siding, and you have to have someone pick you up, and another crew will replace you and continue on with the trip.
Wait. You pull over a train?
Yeah, they have sidings on the track. So you don't really notice them, but there are sidings on the track where you can pull over and park the train. Yeah.
I just knew that they would change the railing, but I don't know you could actually have a little.
Yeah, you can pull into a siding and park there and wait for the crew to replace you, or or do what you need to do.
That's crazy, man. Never knew you could do that.
No, me neither. So hey, man. Well, and after you got out of Union Pacific, is that when you started your business, or how did that all come about?
I had another well-paying good job for
really?
for the gas company. I worked there for 4 years before I left with them. And when I left with them, I took a year off. That was when my son was born. He had a lot of health issues. I took a year off to take care of him. And then that's when, after that year, is when I went back into the automotive industry with another company.
Okay. So you still went with another company before opening. So, I mean, that's great, because, I mean, what you're pretty much saying is, like, it seems like you were doing a lot of things that had the perfect scenario, right? Mm-hmm. It was like the perfect pay, perfect benefits, but it seems like it wasn't like fitting with what you really wanted to do, right?
Yeah, it wasn't for me. Like for Union Pacific or the utility locating job, it was too stressful, man. The training wasn't there. People were, damaging fiber optic lines that were costing $500,000 to repair, and I didn't want that on my conscience. I didn't want someone to hit a gas line because I mismarked it, and for Union Pacific, I didn't like the schedule. It was a fun job. It was an easy job because there's so many damn safety rules that you have to follow them, so it makes the job easy.
You don't mess up that much.
Yeah, and they're out there watching you from time to time. But like I said, the schedule was not for me. And then I went for the gas company, and that was a good job. Great job for 4 years. During that time, my son got sick. He was born. He had 2 surgeries. Within a week of him being born. Yeah. And then after that, he was real sick. Sick to the point where he had to be hospitalized. And by then I already used all my FMLA, all my time off, all my vacation. So me and my wife thought it'd be best to just stay home and take care of him. So. That's what I did for a year and a half. About a year and a half.
Oh, I think every one of us would have done the same thing. Well,
yeah.
That sounds like it was a tough time for you. But it was also, I'm sure, a time that made you, I guess in my opinion, it would have made me realize that I want to be home more often,
Yeah, definitely, yeah. That when you have a kid, if you guys have kids, you all know it just totally changes your life, for the better. And I definitely wanted to be there for him and, take care of him. And it took a lot of stress off my wife knowing that I was home with him and not with the daycare or, something like that, Well,
that's great, man, that you were able to be there for your kid.
Yeah.
So after that situation happened, what was next for you?
My wife started hinting that I need to get a job. My son was good. She's like, yeah, you need to get back to work. So I always knew I wanted to get back into the dealership side. The dealership side's fun, man. It's really fast paced, always changing. You get to work on cool cars. You get to see cool cars every day. And there was no one hiring around the dealership where I wanted to work. I wanted to work in a higher end Mercedes-Benz, BMW. I didn't want to work at a Ford or anything like that. Not to talk bad about that, but I wanted to go to the level where I was at, Mercedes-Benz. I want to continue that route, So I didn't find anything, but I did found a company that they were looking for a dent repairman, PDR. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called Paintless Dent Repair.
Yeah.
And it's from the largest auto reconditioning company in the world, Dent Wizard. They were looking to start a new location in El Paso. So I applied for that, and it was a long hiring process. It took like 3 to 4 months to get hired for that job. I had to, interview with 3 different managers, on the phone interviews. I had to meet with the regional vice president. That's how big of a deal it was, starting a location here. And they liked me, man. They hired me, and they sent me off to St. Louis to become a PDR technician. And I did it for a month, man, but my back, because I have back injuries for the military, it was too hard on my back, man. Really, really rough on my back. So I talked to my manager and trainer, and they're like, no problem, man. You know, we got you. We actually, you know, have another position for you, lined up for you if you want to take it. And that was the account manager position, you know, for all of El Paso.
Okay.
So they offered me that job. I took it not knowing what the duties were or anything. I just heard manager and I'm like, whoa, cool. You know, I'll take it. And yeah, I did that for 14 months here, working with all the dealerships here. We did all the reconditioning for Audi, BMW, Subaru, Charlie Clark Nissan, U-Haul, Enterprise Remarketing, all the rental cars on the airport. We did all the reconditioning for them.
Nice. So the one you're talking about is where they stick like some metal sticks, right?
Yeah,
And they
so you
push
get like a metal rod, you push it behind the panel, and you're like massaging the dent out. Or
from the inside out.
Or if you can't get from the inside, you put a glue tab on it, and you pop it out, and then you kind of like tap down the high spots. But yeah,
It's kind of like it's a different way instead of kind of like replacing all of them.
instead of going to a body shop, yeah.
Because when you go to a body shop, I'm assuming like they just fix them, but the dent stays there, right? They just put like what is it?
The Bondo, body fill,
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Okay, so I guess it's a less, intrusive way to fix
So
the vehicle.
it doesn't go on your Carfax report
Oh, that's perfect.
like a body shop would do. You know, it's a lot quicker, and you're keeping the original paint.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big deal, especially you have a higher end car, you know, really nice car. Once you change the paint, it loses value, you know.
So that's another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. So now that you knew all these things about like the cars, how it worked and everything, that all those things help you kind of like, because at this stage, were you already thinking you wanted to do your own thing, or you were just kind of like brainstorming what you wanted to do?
No, man. I was still wanting to work for people, still wanting to make them money, even though like when I first started, I was having a real hard time because I knew nothing about the body shop side. You know, the technicians we had were, they had about 75 years of experience in between all three of them. Okay. So working for a guy like me that had no experience in body shop paint, you know, they hated it, and they made it known that they hated it, that I was, you know, getting them work. But about 8 months into it, I just got into my groove, man. And they sent me to sales training, which was a joke. It was like 4 hours worth of sales training, and it was a joke, man. It was I don't know, it was a waste of time, but I didn't learn anything from it. They sent down their corporate sales guy, and he came in. He thought he was a big shot. Came in, you know, smooth talker and everything, you know. Yeah. But he never did anything for our location. It was me going there and being professionally persistent, going in every day, talking to people, building that relationship that got me all those jobs. And I just kept getting jobs back to back. I kept getting, you know, big dealerships account. Like you were talking about $30,000 a month accounts that I got.
You had to fix the whole thing.
So yeah, and one of the guys told me, man, you're getting good at this. You should go out and do it on your own. He's like, well, we'll go with you. Like, we'll leave. We'll go with you. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this, man. It kind of was stressful, and I started to hate it. You know, I started to not like it.
Yeah.
But even then, I wasn't thinking of going on my own, even though it was put in my head by a couple of technicians. You know, I never thought to go on my own.
Okay.
And even when I quit, I never thought to go on my own.
All right. And also, like, how were you able to separate yourself from all these people that had all this experience? Like, you're saying some people had a combined 70, 75 years of experience. How were you able to get past that and be a manager right away instead of one of them? What was kind of like the traits that you think you had for that?
Just gaining their trust, you know, showing them that I do, like I was working for them, you know, I was finding them work. So building trust with them, showing them that I actually cared, you know, I wanted to get them work. I wanted them to do well. You know, we would do team building trips. We go to like Top Golf and, you know, build that camaraderie with each other.
Yeah.
But, you know, that ended quick once they started getting more work. It got to the point where they had too much work and like, oh, we need to hire more people, man. So, you know, it's a never-ending cycle of trying to please people and make them happy, you know. And
yeah.
It sounds like you were just getting experience without even knowing. You were just getting the experience to start up your business.
Yeah, yeah. Now that I look at it, I was, and I learned a lot from that company. Not to talk bad about them. There was stuff that they did I didn't like, and my manager was new as well, so I couldn't really rely on him for, mentorship because he was learning as well. He was learning. He was new like me.
Yeah.
We were both new, both learning, so I couldn't rely too much on him to, for help. And I think if I would have had a good mentor, I probably would have been at that job, man. Because I started doing pretty good. Like towards the end, I was getting all these accounts. One account was a $30,000 a month account.
Yeah, that's a big account for
that
a
was
company.
really big. Yeah.
So is the saying true when they say, staff don't quit, companies they quit managers? So that's pretty much what happened to you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he was a great guy, man. Cool guy. We got along well, but like I said, he was learning too.
Yeah.
And
You just felt like you needed that extra.
I needed someone that was more experienced, guiding me and telling me what I needed to do. Like I said, I probably would have still been there killing it, because towards the end we were killing it. We were getting too much work.
Yeah.
Well,
that sounds like a crazy job. Sounds like you gained a lot of experience. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Definitely. Great. Anthony, after you left that job where you were like doing all these big counts and stuff, what else? What was next for you? Again, like we mentioned earlier, at that point where you said you weren't thinking of opening another business, right? It was just like
no. So my plan was to learn everything that I learned at Dent Wizard, and go work for the detailing department at the dealership. That was my plan. I was gonna buy a steamer, all my product and everything like that, and go work for them, as a detailer. I found out how much they made. It was not much. But I'm like, hey, if I could do 4 cars a day, that's like $250 a day, and I could do add-on, steam cleaning, stuff like that. I could make a pretty good amount. But then COVID happened, and the dealerships, the car count went from 114 cars a month to less than half of that. So nobody was hiring. Everybody was shutting down. It was during the quarantine.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so oh my crap, what do I do now? So I looked online and I found a local mobile detailer, and I hit him up for a job. And about a month of corresponding with him, he finally brought me on to work with him. And he it's funny now looking back at it, but he hired me on at $8 an hour. And I'm like, crap, man, $8 an hour. I was making a lot with that other company to go making $8 an hour. Like most people won't even get out of bed for that,
Yeah.
But I did it because I wanted to see if I was gonna like detailing. I decided I want to do detailing. I already had all the equipment, and I figured, what better way to go get hands-on training to go work with somebody doing it. So I worked with him for about 3 months, doing mobile detailing. Getting his way of doing it, learning his way of doing it.
So I'm assuming at this point you were mostly doing it for experience more than the pay, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to find out if I was gonna like detailing, because it's hard. Detailing's hard work. So I had to find out if I was gonna be, a good fit for mobile detailing, and detailing in general. Like I said, it's really hard work when you get those dirtier cars, which I try to stay away from, but you get them from time to time. During that time working with them, I used my GI Bill to get additional training. So I left for a month and a half to California to go get training, auto reconditioning training. So PDR, like what we talked about. Even though I left because I couldn't, my back was injured. They have a different way of teaching PDR, so it's less stressful on your back. So it was PDR, wheel repair, interior repair, windshield chip repair, like the whole package,
The whole car pretty much.
Yeah, and at that time, that's the route I wanted to go, the route what I learned at Dent Wizard. So I trained with them for a month and a half. I came back and worked with that mobile detailer again for about another month until I went to another training. I did just training.
Just gaining knowledge.
Yeah, like from one training to another, I got the itch, man. I wanted to learn more and more and more to cut that learning curve in half.
Yeah.
So I did another training, And that, because of my GI Bill, they give you money for housing. I was staying with my sister in California, so I didn't use that money for a hotel or anything. I used that money to pay for another training.
Nice.
So I did 3 trainings within 3 months.
So it seems like you were very strict with like the things you really. So I mean, based on what you're saying, it seems to me that you were already thinking of like going into this full time, right? Because you were investing all this money into like training, knowledge, and
Yeah, definitely. At that point, I wanted to do it on my own, and I felt if I did all this training, it would cut my learning curve in half, and
definitely.
Also, another thing, I thought if I was professionally trained, that everyone would come running to me. That was a big mistake. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it definitely helps, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand. It's like sometimes people just want to do one thing, and they're just like, nah, I'll just open it. Mm-hmm. No training, no thing. I'll just learn on the job. But it's like, it's always better to go your route, to have all this experience, and once you do it, you're actually doing it correctly, and you don't have so many issues, I guess, when it comes to your business in terms of what you're actually doing hands-on. So that's great.
Yeah.
Perfect. There's so much training to it, man.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I didn't know there was that much training into it.
There is. If you want to be at a certain level, you have to do some type of professional training. A lot of guys learn on YouTube, which I ain't gonna lie, I was YouTube certified. I learned a lot on YouTube.
I think everybody has done that, even fixing stuff.
But at one point, you're like, am I really doing it right? Yeah, I could watch him and mimic what he's doing, but am I really doing it right? Am I really holding the polisher right? Am I, moving fast enough? You don't know that because you don't have someone there watching you and correcting you. That's why I decided to go the training route, to have that experience and have someone watch me while I'm working. And when I did go to training, I found out I didn't know shit, man. I didn't know what I thought I knew. I thought I knew a lot from watching YouTube and reading, forums online. Like, I went there and like, wow, I really do not know
a lot. And that's great. That's great that you have that quality, because a lot of people, like that, to where it's like, I feel like I know everything, but it's once you go with other people that are doing it crazier than you, it's kind of like, damn, I'm not even near where I wanted to be, or I'm not even near what I thought I was the top, So that's great that you do that.
And it's a little reality check right away.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's kind of humbling, man, because you're like, whoa. I mean, like I said, YouTube certified, and I came from the reconditioning side, so I thought I knew a lot. But you go to a training, you're like, wow, man, I know nothing, and there's so much to learn. There's so much to know.
And is that something that you currently still explore, or you're kind of like topped off in terms of training?
Yeah, so I get asked all the time from other detailers why I go to someone's training events. I go all the time. Any training event I can go to that I think will benefit my business or, give me self-improvement, I go there. Like, I just came back from the SEMA show in Vegas I was there 4 days. Yeah. And people think you're just going to checking out cars, but they actually have training there.
Oh, they do?
They do have training there. They have business training, marketing training, body shop training, whatever you can think of in the automotive industry, they have training there for. So
how was that for you? I mean, how was that event that you went to? Have you been to a lot of them?
No. So last year I registered to go, but because of COVID, a lot of the big detailing companies backed out. So I went to another event during the same time, another training event. Last week was my first time going. Man, it was awesome, and it was overwhelming though. Like, so many vendors there, so much stuff to do. It was really overwhelming. Like, if you go, you got to go with the plan.
Yeah,
because there's so much stuff to do there. Yeah,
it's crazy. So going back to your training, once you got certified, once you got all these trainings on your hand or under your belt, did you go back to the same company you were working with, or that's when you decided to take the next move?
Yeah, so after my third training, I didn't go back. I didn't go back to that company. I decided that I was going to go out on my own, and I set a date. It was going to be January 1st, 2020, where I go out on my own. And that's what I did. January 1st, 2020, I went out on my own.
So peak COVID?
Peak COVID, yeah. During COVID. At that time, I mean...
That was a bold move, man.
Yeah, it was, but I saw other people doing it, so like if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. And well, actually, when everything shut down? I think that was like around March, May, right?
Yeah.
So were like a lot of people still calling you like, hey, come to my house, or were you asking them to bring you the car? How was that for you? How was that experience?
So after training, one of the guys I trained with, he put a post on his Facebook and he tagged me on it, and so all my friends saw it, and I got a bunch of jobs just from that post right there. That kept me through like the first month, you know, doing a bunch of cars from the people. Hey, you detail now, you can do my car and stuff like that.
So with that, with friends asking you and just friends hitting you up to detail the car, was there a lot of conflict? Like, hey, give me a discount.
You know what? I never experienced that. No one ever told me, a friend or anyone I knew, oh, can you do it for a discount? No one ever did that to me. I got people asking for multiple car discounts, but no one ever like, oh, you know, hook me up with the discount,
really
friend
good,
discount. Man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think one thing that I guess would keep people or friends from asking you for discounts is being professional all the time, right?
Right.
So is that something you did from the get-go, or where did that all start from?
Yeah, from the get-go, man. And I think that came from my military upbringing, you know. Like, I used to get days off on Monday because my uniform, my boots were shined, my uniform looked good, it was pressed, you know. So I always carried that throughout my life, you know, always looking professional. One of my squad leaders told me perception is everything, you know.
Yeah.
So if you look the
like that
part,
saying, right?
yeah, you know, if you look the part, people will think you're the part, you know. People will think you're professional if you look it. And I've always carried that with me since he told me that. I remember, like, he gave me the day off. He's like, perception is everything. I wasn't the best soldier, man. Sometimes I was a dirtbag, man, you know. I was a young kid,
Yeah.
man, but I always looked good. I always had a haircut, boot shine. So I always, like I said, I always carried that, you know, throughout my life. And so I think so, yeah. You know, I started off with, like I said, I went to Ross and got a bunch of polos and I put my logo on them. You know, I bought shirts. My wife learned how to do the cricket, and she would put the logo on my shirts. And, you know, I was going to print shops getting stuff printed. So, and I got my truck. Later on, I got my truck fully wrapped with my logo and, you know, full design. So, you know, I always wanted to have that professional look, kind of like a franchise look, but, you know, not a franchise, you know, but have that franchise professional look.
Yeah, have people, like, when they see you, recognize who you are and what you do, right?
Right,
That was kind of
yeah.
like the mentality there.
Yeah.
So, so far, how long? You said you started in 2020, so it's been about how long? About a year?
A year and 11 months.
Year
Yeah.
and 11 months. So, I mean, with that year and 11 months, I'm sure there's been a lot of things that you've learned throughout. And that's the thing, or at least that's something that I always tell people, and I would like for you to share a little bit more about that, is some people start their business as a hobby, and then it later turns out into like a full-blown business where it's like, damn, I didn't know I had to do all these things, all this
Right.
additional stuff, and it's not as easy as it seems at first. So how were you able to, I mean, I guess from the start, where did you learn all these things about, like, marketing? I need to brand myself. I need to brand my vehicle. Is that from your previous experience, or you just kind of knew?
Yeah, so partly from my previous experience and also from the training that I received. I trained with 3 world-renowned detailers out in California. So if you're in the detailing industry and you mention one of these 3 guys, they know who they are. They're big time. So a lot of that came from them.
Nice.
You know, a lot of it came from, I have a mentor. I have multiple mentors. So a lot of that came from them.
Okay.
A lot of that came from me doing research online. Like, if you can't find a mentor, or if you know, can't afford to pay for one, there's places like the SBA,
Yeah.
you know, that you can find a mentor. There's a website called Score, which they have a local guy here that can mentor you. They have webinars that are, you know, they have everything you need to know about business. And I did a lot of that. I watched a lot of webinars, you know, on business, marketing, you name it, man.
Yeah, just everything. I guess you were just grasping for
Anything I
everything.
could get my hands on, I was going for, man, to try to learn. Yeah.
That's extremely good. Again, props to that, man. That's a really, really good quality to have, and especially because, again, a lot of people don't really understand that, and it's great. So, tell me a little bit more about what you do specifically in your business.
So yeah, I do auto detailing. I call it auto reconditioning to try to like differentiate myself from the other detailers out there.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people out there, not to talk bad about them, but they go to Walmart, buy a chemical guy's kit, and they call themselves detailers, when they're just a car washer, not to talk bad about them, but there is a difference. And I feel if the clientele, if people know that there is a difference, then they will start to want to pay more for the services that I provide. So I provide mine's a little bit more niche. I do a lot of paint correction and ceramic coating, protecting your vehicle and like polishing the paint. Like paint correction is pretty much polishing the paint.
Okay.
You're removing defects from the paint, swirls, scratches, oxidation, marring, stuff like that. And to protect that from happening again, we put on the ceramic coating, to protect it from the sun. It's not scratch proof, but it's scratch resistant,
Okay.
So
you would recommend for anybody that just got a new vehicle to do it?
100%. If you want that vehicle to keep, looking new for the whole time you own it, yeah, definitely. You may not need a polishing because it's a brand new vehicle.
Yeah.
But highly recommend that you protect it. If you can't afford a ceramic coating, there's other options you can do to protect your vehicle's paint.
And does it vary? I guess the type of polishing that the ceramic coating that you use depending on the weather where that vehicle is located, or it's all the same?
So for me, I've used quite a few, and because I have done multiple trainings, I found one that works good for me and one that works good for El Paso, all of El Paso. Okay, it's good for all the types of weather that we have.
Sun.
Yeah, yeah. So the one I use is really good for UV protection and chemical resistance, and that's the one I found. That's the one I stuck with, and it works well. But there are different durabilities, longevity. Like you can do like a 1 to 5 year. Some people offer 10 years. Some people offer a lifetime. Yeah. I cap it off at 5 because I feel like the client's not going to really maintain their vehicle for a lifetime the way it needs to be maintained to uphold that ceramic coating and keep it, working.
And how do you deal with that? Like, for example, I'm sure you have a set of instructions that you tell the owners of the cars you detail, right? Like, hey, you can't do X, Y, Z. How do you deal with people that come back and they're like, hey, this didn't work, and in reality, it was them not taking care of the instructions that you mentioned?
Yeah, so that actually happened probably a couple months ago.
Okay.
And it was a big black truck, and it took me about 2 days to polish and ceramic coat. And the client came to my location. I showed him how to properly wash it. That way, he told me he wanted to wash it himself, so I showed him how to do it.
Okay.
And the week after, he washed it at his shop, and he didn't dry it. He let the water spots dry on the paint, and it pretty much ruined the ceramic coating. So what I did for him, I was able to fix it and then like re-educate him on how to properly take care of it. Which all my clients, they get a aftercare, how to properly wash your car, how to properly, what products I use, what products I recommend that you use if you want to wash your car yourself. And we do offer a car wash service, which we don't offer to the general public, only to our clients that have got the ceramic coating through us. So we offer training and we offer our services if they want, if they don't want to do it themselves. Yeah,
that's crazy. So many things I didn't know.
So it sounds like there's a lot of room for mistakes, man. Is there something that you just messed up in a car that you were like, you know what?
Yeah,
I've burned paint before. Burning paint is where you get on the paint too much and you actually burn the clear coat off.
Okay.
And the paint changes a different color, so you have to repaint that section of the car. I've done that. I've done that a few times.
Yeah. And is that like something that you could easily fix with your processes, or it's like a whole
That's
deal?
something that if I burn paint, it's going to the body shop.
It has to,
It has to go to the body shop. But 2 of those times, the client wanted me to push, even after I told him we should not proceed. Like, go ahead and do it. I don't care. You know, they're at the point where either going to get fixed or get painted. So go ahead, and if you mess it up, then it's cool. We're going to repaint it anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. No, well, it seems like, again, there's a lot to it than just detailing. So, again, for everyone that's listening, this is not, it seems to me that it's not an easy business. You must know a lot of things before you can even get started on this. So, I'm sure you would agree with that. And based on what you've been saying, is there like some type of like forms that you make the client sign, or how did you learn that entire process to where if you don't do this process right, then it's pretty much not my liability? Is there a process that you have set for that?
So yeah, on my CRM, when I send them out the proposal, there is a disclaimer on there that they do sign, you know, stating that if I do anything to their vehicle, that I'm not held liable for it. Nice. So I do have a disclaimer on my CRM, you know, trying to cover, you know, CYA.
Yeah.
You know.
Great. So, you know, based on what you're saying, it seems like, again, this is a business that requires a lot of, I guess, being very detailed with the
attention to detail.
Yeah, like
yeah.
And I'm horrible at that. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not good either, man.
What about you doing?
Nah.
Yeah, I guess you need to be very focused. So, is there anything you do specifically that helps you focus whenever you're detailing your any vehicles?
Not really, man. Like when I'm doing it, I'm more focused than when I'm doing anything else. You know, when I'm right there polishing or cleaning, that's all I'm thinking about. You know, I'm just thinking about polishing. I'm thinking about washing, whatever I'm doing. I'm just focusing on the job. There's nothing really I do. I mean, I'll pop on a podcast on my AirPods, you know, but I don't really have a, you know, routine or anything that keeps me in my zone. When I start working, I get in that zone.
Zone.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, because it seems like you, I mean, at least in my, you know, if I was in your shoes, I think I would need some type of, I don't know, like be in a dark room with nothing, no lights, just the light on the paint. Because there's so much detail you need to put on that. So much attention.
Yeah, and going back to that, you being so detailed on it, I feel like, I mean, I've seen your Instagram and all that. You've done some pretty high end cars. Is there what has been your biggest failure on a car, or it doesn't have to be a car, but any detailing that you've done?
Any detailing that I've done, biggest failure. Probably I would have to say not properly educating my client on how to properly maintain their ceramic coating. Like we talked about earlier, you know, I did give him the aftercare, you know, information, but he probably failed to read it. So I felt I failed in that aspect where I didn't properly, you know, explain to him that you can't just, you know, rinse off your car and let it air dry. You know, that was a big, you know, I spent a lot of time on that car, and I had to spend a lot more time on that car, you know, to get it back to the level where I had it. So probably, you know, failure to communicate with my client, you know, on how to properly take care of that expensive investment they made in their vehicle.
Yeah.
Do you have employees?
I have one part-time guy, yeah.
And did you offer him the same training you took?
So I did train him, yeah. I trained him on the way I want him to work, you know. And just by working with me, he sees other, you know, how I work. He sees other stuff I do. So, yeah, he did get about a day's worth of training, kind of like a boot camp of training.
Yeah.
And then when we weren't on a tight schedule, you know, we spent a little bit more time on vehicles, learning, you know, what to do, what not to do, how to be more efficient.
So what's your take on hiring somebody that has a lot of experience versus hiring somebody that has little to no experience? Which one do you like best and why?
So for me, I would want someone with no experience. That way I can teach them my way. You know, I've seen it with my other friends in their business. They hire people that have experience, but it's not good experience.
Yeah.
You know, they have bad habits, and you either got to break them or you got to cut them loose.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's something, you know, like a big topic in the business world too, because it's like people want to hire the best talent, the best knowledgeable person. But like you mentioned, sometimes that knowledge is not good. You know, it's kind of like a way that doesn't fit your company vision, your company, direction. So, I agree with you on that. So let me see. Is there anything that you would want to share with people starting out in detailing company? Like, is there anything that you would,
like any advice
that you would give them before even thinking about starting a detailing company?
Have a plan. I didn't have a plan. I just kind of, like I said, I quit cold turkey my job. I had a plan in my head, but it wasn't written down. I feel if once you write stuff down, it becomes more real. It becomes, like you have to accomplish it because you wrote it down. Don't procrastinate, man. If you're gonna do it, just do it. I feel like I lost 6 months of my business because I was trying to have everything perfect. Trying to have everything lined up and look perfect, have the perfect wrap of my vehicle, have the perfect tools. I wasted too much time, procrastinating and not just doing it.
Yeah,
it's a learning process. You learn as you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's good advice. So one more thing on that topic is it true when people say I need the most expensive polisher? I need the brand name. Like, what's your take on like people that want to buy like the most expensive everything because they think that'll be better for them? How do you see that?
Yeah. So take it from me, you don't need all that. I was that guy. I bought the $500 polisher, multiple. If you see my garage, I have like 8 polishers, and they're all like $400, $500 and up. You don't need that many, 1 or 2, but you don't need the name brand stuff. You can get away with like a Harbor Freight tool in the meantime until you get better.
Yeah.
And then if you need to go ahead and get that, better tool, better product, then yeah, by all means do it, but do it when you have the money.
Yeah.
Do it when you can afford it. Do it when you feel is right, but you don't need any of that. I still use a Home Depot Ryobi pressure washer. A lot of the guys in the industry are using a $1,200 pressure washer. It does the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Yeah, it looks good. It's perceived value to your clients, but they really don't care.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they just want the product.
It's the
complete.
result,
Exactly.
that they're looking for, the end result.
Yeah. And that's something that we did wrong a lot is like, we're going to buy the baddest machine because this one's like XYZ. And then we get it in here. Nobody looks at it. Nobody uses it. Nobody even knows what it is. And it's like the most expensive machine in the whole gym and nobody cares. So I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
All right. So what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now in your business project, and how are you tackling it?
So yeah, my biggest challenge right now, like we talked about before, is coming out of obscurity, coming from people not knowing about me to people knowing about me and becoming like a household name. I'm a year and 11 months into it, and still a lot of people don't know about me, even though I'm doing some cool stuff. I've been invited to Monterey Car Week. There's still a lot of people that don't know about my services, and that's what I need to figure out and try to remedy quick, because what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to plan to hire someone to run Google ads for me. I feel that'll help me out. I know one of my friends is in the automotive industry, and he used Google ads, and that's really helping him out. So I'm looking into that, hiring somebody to do that for me. I don't want to do it myself. I'd rather pay someone to do it for me, do it right. I feel like if I try to do it myself, I'm going to waste a lot of money trying to figure it out, as opposed to just hiring somebody to do it for me, that they know what they're doing, and I get results quicker than me trying to learn how to do it.
Yeah, 1,000% agree with that. Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're growing pretty fast. How do you keep yourself from not overbooking or just getting too much work on? Yeah, because I know like people that are they're barbers, tattoo artists, and they'll like double book just because they think they're gonna make more money, and then it turns me away because I'm there waiting for it.
So what I do, a lot of detailers do online booking. I don't do that because I want to talk to my client. I want to figure out what they need. I don't want to just offer them, A, B, C package. I need to talk to them and find out what they need, how I can solve their problem. So I don't have a booking software. I do have a booking software. I don't use it. I take all the calls myself. I talk to the clients myself, and then we talk about what is going to be best to solve their problem, to, you know, figure out what they want, and we book from there. And honestly, I just keep it on my calendar. As soon as I book it there, I put it in my calendar, and I put it in my CRM software.
So since you talk to everybody directly, do you ever turn someone away? Cause
all the time. Yeah. I think we talked about earlier, like I try to stay away from the really dirty cars. I have another detail I work with. He loves those cars. You know, he gets off on that dirty car, you know, the before and after. Like me, I don't want to do that type of car. I try to stick to the new vehicle where they want it protected and maintained. And that's the type of clientele I want to keep.
How do you politely reject them?
There's no way to politely do it.
I tell them I'm pretty booked out. You know, I'll tell them I'm booked out for this amount of time, but I do have a detailer that can probably take you in the next 2 days. You know, which most of the time is the truth. I'm not lying to them. You know, most of the time when they call, I'm booked about a week and a half out.
Yeah.
You know, and the other guy can probably take him in because that other guy's working 7 days a week, which I don't work that much.
Yeah.
You know?
So then, piggyback of Dwayne's question, how do you do it to? Because I've seen you detail like planes and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that's not a 3-hour job. How do you do it to make sure you don't overbook? Like, let's say you book a car the next day.
Yeah. So by now, I have it figured out. You know, if I get a plane job, I'm going to book it for the whole day. No matter if it takes me 4 hours or 3, like you mentioned, I'm going to just book it out the whole day.
Okay.
You know, it's going to pay me enough to where it's profitable to book it out the whole day. Yeah. You know, like other jobs, I already know what it's going to take me, so I'll book it accordingly.
So how did you, that's crazy now that you mention it. How did you get into that, man? Like, how did you make the jump from like a car, vehicle, truck to a plane?
A plane, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
it's a whole different spectrum. That's crazy.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of detailers that do both. You know, and there's a couple here in El Paso that do it. But I got that from an organization I'm part of, the Detail Mafia. There's a member out of Utah that he has a big contract with 2 private charter companies. And once I got into the group, he hit me up through a text. He's like, "Hey, Anthony, Steve from the Detail Mafia. I do aircraft. Do you want to do aircraft?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I wanna do aircraft." Let's do it. I wasn't looking for it, but he offered it, so yeah. But he sent me that text, and it wasn't until like 5, maybe 7 months later until I actually did an aircraft. And I got a call like 9:30 at night. "Hey, we have an airplane for you. You ready to go?" I'm like, "No, hell no. I'm not ready." And it was a COVID plane, so the pilot got COVID, so they wanted me to decontaminate the plane. I'm like, "Shit, what do I do, dude? I never did anything like that, man." So I got on YouTube and I checked all these decontamination videos. I had a painter suit, so I wore that painter suit with the hood. I had a respirator, gloves, and I was using a COVID killer, like a disinfectant. So that's all I really needed to do. But that was my first plane, a COVID plane. It was a Lear 55, like an 8-passenger private jet. Nice. That was my first plane, a COVID plane. But after that, I've done a few private charter planes, and then that led me to doing the museum, doing the warbirds. You know,
I saw that. What was it? Probably like 5 months ago, 4 months ago, you did a war one, right?
I've done 3 of their most expensive planes they have right now.
And the museum.
At the museum, yeah, correct. Yeah.
That's insane, man. So that's pretty unexpected from moving, like Ernesto said, from a car to a plane. Has that been the most unexpected thing in your career, or what's the most unexpected thing you've got?
I would say, yeah, because not too many people so young in their career or business get to work on this type of aircraft.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, maybe one other detailer that does a museum, that does it regularly, and that has done 3 warbirds that are worth millions of dollars. You know, I don't know if I know another detailer that does that. You know, being 1 year and 11 months into their business. So yeah, I would say yes on that.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, if you're worried about your car getting detailed by Anthony, I mean, you have nothing to worry about, right? I mean, I trust you with my life right now, man.
Yeah, man. And going off of that, I mean, they see your work, man, and what do they tell you when the first plane that you did? What did they tell you? How was your reaction to it? Was it so hard, or was it easier than you thought?
So yeah, so to get that job, I actually got that job. It came about at a car show here at the Fox Plaza. I was supposed to be in Big Bear, California, being an intern for a training company, detailing training company. The flight got canceled. I ended up coming to the show. I had no plans of coming to the show, and then I talked with Adrian from EP Legends, formerly EP Tuners. He's like, "Hey, how's business going?" I'm like, "Good, man. I did my first airplane," bragging. I thought I was all badass and everything. But
definitely, you need to brag about that.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, that's cool, man." He's like, I know a guy that works at the museum. I'm gonna introduce you to him." So he introduced me to a worker at the museum. And then from there, that worker told the director about me. And then that's when I went down to the museum and introduced myself to the director. We talked for a little bit. I told him my qualifications. I told him I'm interested in helping them out and being part of the museum. And he kind of like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll talk." So I knew that wasn't going to work, man. I had to be professionally persistent. I kept showing up. Every week until he finally gave me a black Rolls Royce to do. He's like, "If you can do this car, make it look good, we'll think about you letting touch the airplanes and doing other work."
That's crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
They were worried about you. They were not worried about you scratching the Rolls Royce, but the plane. They were.
They're like,
Yeah,
it's a
so
Rolls Royce.
I knocked the Rolls Royce out of the park, man. Everyone that walked by, they couldn't believe how good it looked, and they made it look like new, revived it. Like my name, we revived
Literally,
it, pretty much. And after that, we were talking about doing one plane and one car a month. So that was it. The Rolls Royce is what got me in the door. And the first aircraft I did with them was the black P-38. It was another black painted vehicle, the black P-38. I don't know if you guys are familiar with aircraft, but it's a pretty badass aircraft, man, a warbird. They're normally not painted. The owner painted it, and he used to race it. After, it was decommissioned, he turned it into a race plane, and he would race it. But that one, it was not scary, man. Paint is paint. I was just worried about a ladder falling over and hitting the bird.
Scratching.
That was the only thing I'm worried about, and I hired 2 guys to help me out do it. But we knocked it out in a day. Yeah, one day.
And I was gonna ask, is there is a big shock for you being on when you have to detail the top of the plane, or how does that all come about? Do you get on a ladder, or do you actually have to step on the plane? How do you do that whole process?
The majority of the planes that we have done, we can do with a ladder. We don't have to get a cherry picker or scissor lift, anything like that. They can be done with the ladder, with an extension pole, kind of like what you see the pool cleaners clean the pool with.
Okay.
Something like that with the microfiber, mitt on the end of it, or a microfiber towel to clean it. So those are not hard to clean, but when you get the private charter jets with a big tail and big wing, then you have to get on a high ladder, and you have to get a higher extension pole to clean that. Yeah.
That sounds extremely stressful, man. To me, I don't know about planes. I think the Rolls Royce I would be more stressed about, but again, because I don't know about planes. But like I said, it sounds really stressful. How do you deal with that stress? How does it?
What's your outlet?
Yeah.
So the warbirds, I'm not too stressed out about. They're decommissioned. They're never gonna fly again.
They're just children.
They're there. So I'm taking care of them as best as I can. I am worried about scratching. No, I don't want to make it seem like I'm not worried. I'm careless with them. I'm not. But the ones that I get stressed out about are the private jets that I do at Millionaire or Atlantic. The ones that are actually still flying, and
commission, pretty much.
That are still out and about, taking people from point A to point B. Those are what I worry about, because they have small antennas on the tails or the wing that cost $200-$300, and they're really brittle, they're really fragile, and any little bump you can break them, and if they break, they can't fly until that antenna gets fixed. So I get stressed, but same thing like we were talking about earlier, man. I just focus on the job and make sure that I'm staying away from those areas. I'm really cautious of the antennas and the static port, areas where I need to stay away from. And then when I have someone working with me, I really stress, the those points, those areas to stay away from them. Don't touch them. I'll clean it. I'll clean around that area. So I handle it myself when I'm working with another person. That way I don't put the stress on him. He's not stressed out about cleaning that area,
So I didn't know this, but I mean, based on what you're saying, I mean, it seems logical now, but I guess El Paso, I still see it as a small city, and I didn't really know that the private jet industry was so big. And the reality is there's private jets coming in and out of the city all the time.
Yeah.
So, and us people that are not involved in that don't really know, Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole nother hangar right next to the airport filled with private jets, man.
Yeah.
There like maybe hundreds of them filled.
That's insane, man.
Yeah. And
crazy.
they fly in every day.
In and out.
In and out, yeah.
That's crazy.
Can't believe you're so relaxed. And I'm still stressed. I'm stressing about it. Like I would have to eat a whole Whataburger meal or something before going to work because I would be so stressed. It's crazy.
So another question that I have for you is, what do you think people misunderstand about you the most?
About me, like personally or business?
Yeah, you can personal business. What do you think is something that they're like,
You know what? I come off as standoffish. I get that a lot. That I'm a snob because I'm really quiet. I'm really to myself type of person.
which is not true. We confirmed it.
I think a lot of people like the event. I was at an event and people were just looking at me like I was keeping to myself. I had a group of people I was talking to, but I'm not the type of person. I'm real shy, man. I don't go out and you'd have to come to me if you want to talk to me type deal.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people think a snob or standoffish or I don't want to talk to you. And a lot of it has to do with my face too. Sometimes I give up that look, that like I'm mad all the time, but I'm really not. I'm really cool, laid back, down to earth type of guy, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And you are. And then also, what's one of the things that has humbled you the most, like a humbling experience you've had within your business?
I would say getting the museum work, that was crazy, man. I couldn't believe when that happened, when they wanted me to go back and do work, and continue to do work for them. Or Thursday, I'm going to do 5 cars for them for an event they have coming up Friday,
Nice.
That was really humbling. Collector that I work with, he has over 35 cars that are worth millions of dollars doing, being the detailer for him, I was pretty humbling. And then getting selected out of 175 people, 14 were selected to go to Monterey Car Week from that organization I'm part of, and I was one of them. That was pretty humbling too, man. I got to spend a week in Monterey, California at Monterey Car Week, working in cars that are 1 of 3, 1 of 10, working on cars that are like millions worth millions of dollars. We did the late Sean Connery's car. We did his DB5. I'll probably never touch that car again in my life. And how many people can say they worked on Sean Connery's 007 car?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
a
insane,
beautiful
man.
car.
It sounds like your business is going amazing. It sounds like it's successful. Is there any success myths that you want to bust? Anything like that they told you need to do this, but you later found out it's a lie, or it's not true?
I don't feel I'm in the position to give business advice. You always want to get advice from people that are where you want to be. People above you, not people lateral or below you. But one thing I hear all the time is you got to work all the time. You got to freaking grind all the time. And I don't do that, man. I got into business to be able to take vacation, to be able to take my son to his baseball game, to be able to go to whatever I want to do, to be able to take that time off, So to feel like you need to grind 24/7, 7 days a week, I mean, that's not for me. And that's one of the myths that I don't like, or one of the sayings that I don't like,
You don't agree with?
I don't agree with, yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest myths that's going around. I gotta work 24 hours a day. I gotta grind 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Nonstop.
Yeah, nonstop. But like Ernesto said last podcast, I think you need to work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it seems like you're exactly doing that. I mean, based on all the things you've mentioned throughout the whole podcast, it seems like you're a rounded guy in terms of education. You educate yourself to be better, and of course, I can guarantee that if there was a process that would take you 3 hours, it now takes you an hour just because of all the things that you know.
Right. Yeah.
Great. Now, well, another thing that I want to, ask you is, what's your next project? What's next for you? What are you working on currently that's next?
So I am working on something. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to put it out there because I don't want people to steal the idea. But it is something big, something I've been wanting to do since I started detailing.
Great.
It's being done in other big cities, and I think it'd be pretty cool here to get it out here in El Paso. There is a need for it.
Nice.
In the industry. Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
And
I want to ask him, how did you come up with the Revive?
Revive?
yeah.
It was all like a play on words, man. Like I wanted to, be able to get on social media and be like, hey, let me revive your ride. Let me revive your wheels. Let me revive your interior. It was all like a play on words. And then the Lifeline came after, man. And then the logo, like it was from someone on Fiverr, man. Like it cost $15 to make this logo. But, it's funny, man. Everyone likes it, man. They like it. It's real simple and basic, but I get a lot of compliments on it. It's pretty funny, man.
Was that your first one? Like Revive was?
Yeah. It was always Revive. It was always Revive, but it was Revive Detailing. Revive Auto Detailing or Revive Detailing. And then I went with Revive Auto Solutions because I wanted people to be able to know that I'm going to be able to solve your problems. I have a solution for your problems. So that's why I went with Revive Auto Solutions. And there's even the Lifeline has a meaning too. You come to me and it's dead. And then after the Revive, it's boom. You see it.
It's a heartbeat going.
A heartbeat, yeah.
That's cool. It's actually a pretty cool logo design because gets right to the point. Like it makes total sense.
It's basic, like I said, $15 in fiber. That's all it costs.
That's cool, man. That's extremely fun.
Yeah.
Extremely exciting that you have that logo. Also, like, where can people find you? Where can people reach out to you if they want to revive their cars and literally bring it from the grave to life?
Yeah, so I'm Revive Auto Solutions on all platforms. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. All of them, all platforms, Revive Auto Solutions. I'm currently in between websites right now. It's kind of funny. I dropped my website people. They were doing my Google and my website, so I had to drop them. And unfortunately, they had my domain rights. So that's another lesson. Get your domain rights. Get it. Personally, don't let another company buy it for you.
Yeah.
That's another lesson for your listeners. They get your domain and you own it.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't have a website right now. But you can reach me at 915-274-2003 and call me directly. We can do a free in-person consultation to figure out what you need.
Perfect. Again, everyone listening, Anthony is going to take care of you. And of course, like we were saying, he details planes, so your car should be pretty quick to do. You have nothing to worry about.
Even if you have a private jet, hit him up.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So, again, thank you, everyone, for listening. Anthony, thank you. It was a pleasure having you in the podcast. We definitely learned a lot from you, a lot of the detailing industry that we didn't know. And it's just great having you, man. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Now, I was down then, but that's all in the past tense. So I can't stop shit till I'm top 10. And I'm not 10. I'm so in love with the process. Not all in a day, but it took them some time to build Rome. I just copped the crib, never home. No, I can't keep a charge on the phone.